Hey, good morning, y'all. Good. Join me this morning as we get started with the second commandment, understanding God's call for true worship. So, God calls us for true worship and understanding that so does Satan. So, this is why this commandment is so vital and important to the Lord. Satan is asking for your worship too. And if you're not worshiping the true and living God, you are worshiping Satan, unknown. So, the second commandment, understanding God's call for true worship. The second commandment found in Exodus 20:4-6, it reads this: You shall not take for yourself a carved image or any likeness of any that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You should not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. Notice that a lot of the fallen angels, they come from the water below, they come off the earth, and they even come out of the heavens. So their job is to twist things and get you confused so that you're no longer worshiping God above, but you're worshiping them as well as Satan. This commandment underscores the exclusivity of God's worship, addressing idolatry directly. To fully grasp its meaning, it is essential to unpack the intent, significance, and implications of this divine decree. What does the second commandment forbid? Second commandment explicitly forbids the creation of physical images or representations of God or anything in creation as objects of worship. The prohibition extends beyond statutes to include any object that could take God's rightful place in the hearts of his people, as they did the golden calf. Deuteronomy 4:15-16 reinforces this. Therefore, watch yourselves very carefully, since you saw no form on the day that the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the midst of the fire. Beware lest you act corruptly by making a carved image for yourselves in any form or any figure. Remember, they did. They made the cow. They made the cow. And he's showing you, don't do that. That's not what he is. God emphasizes that he cannot be confined or represented by a physical form. He's showing you that. Any attempt to depict him diminishes his transcendence and risks leading people into a false worship. So he doesn't want to be represented as any of that. He is divine intelligence, is really what he is. The jealous nature of God. In stating that he is a jealous God, the commandment reflects God's exclusive claim to his people's worship. This jealousy is not petty, or human, but a righteous desire to protect his covenant relationship with his people. In Isaiah 42:8, God declares, I am the Lord, that is my name, my glory. I give it to no other, nor my praise to carved idols. God's jealousy arises from his love and his commitment to guard his people from the destructive consequences of idolatry. Worshiping anything other than God leads to spiritual corruption and estrangement from him. And I think of a church that has large statues all over their church of saints and everybody. And that's the first thing that came to my mind while reading that. Why does God forbid idolatry? Idolatry distorts the truth about God's nature and character. Images and idols cannot capture his holiness, omnipotence, or eternal glory. When people create idols, they inevitably misrepresent God, reducing him to something finite and controllable, which he's in control. Romans 1:22-23 describes the folly of idolatry. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. Moreover, idolatry enslaves the heart as it places ultimate trust in something other than the Creator. This disobedience breaks the first and greatest commandment to love God with all one's heart, soul, and strength. Deuteronomy 6:5. The blessing and consequences attached. The second commandment carries both a warning and a promise. God warns of visiting iniquity upon multiple generations of those who hate him. This reflects the societal and generational impact of idolatry, where sin patterns can be perpetrated. However, the commandment also offers hope. God promises steadfast love to thousands of generations of those who love him and keep his commandments. This shows God's mercy and faithfulness, which far outweigh his judgment. Psalms 103:17-18 emphasizes this. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children, to those who keep his covenant and remember to do his commandments. How does this apply to today? Modern idolatry may not involve golden calves or carved statues, but it is just as prevalent. Anything that takes the place of God in our hearts, money, power, relationships, or even religious traditions, can become an idol. And right now, today, in this time, it's men's traditions that have nothing really to do with God. They have everything to do with Satan. He says they're an abomination in his sight. And all of those that participate in them are checking themselves off of not worshiping the Lord at all. Jesus reiterates the importance of pure worship in John 4:23-24. But the hour is coming, and now is here, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. If you're not worshiping in spirit, in the spirit of truth, you're worshiping in the spirit of error. And it talks about that in John. The second commandment calls believers to examine their hearts, ensuring their worship is directed solely towards God, free from distractions or distortions. In conclusion, the second commandment is a powerful reminder of God's holiness and his desire for his people to worship him rightly. It forbids idolatry because it distorts God's nature and draws hearts away from him. Instead, it invites believers into a covenant relationship marked by love, faithfulness, and truth. As believers, we are called to heed the commandment, not only by avoiding physical idols, but also by guarding our hearts from anything that could rival God's rightful place as the center of our worship. And as I've said before, there's too many people that currently worship, even some of their children that are in sports. They worship them. If they don't worship them, it's their grandchildren. If it's not them, it's things, it's money. They have overabundance. They've been gifted of money for so many things, and yet they won't feed the homeless. They'll pass them by, they'll scoff, they'll mock. God's watching all of these things, for he says, by doing this for them, you've done it for me. I'm asking today for you to search your heart and to ask the Lord to show you if there's anything that you're idolizing outside of the worship of him. And I say this in Yeshua's name. Bye-bye.